And I challenge you to really focus and utilize this. Welcome to the Entrepreneur Motivation Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Bello. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about a concept that I recently came across in another podcast. And I heard about this actually a few different times, but I just wanted to make an episode about it because it is very interesting. So this one is going to be called the 64-4 principle, 64/4 principle. So you may have heard of the 80-20 principle, which I've talked about on the show before. And that is that 80% of the outcomes result from 20% of the causes or inputs. But 64-4 is an 80-20 of the 80-20. And so basically 80% of 80 is 64%. 20% of 20 is 4%. And so what this means is you need to get even more focused. So let's do a little bit of math, and hopefully I did this all right. I just typed out a couple of notes that I wanted to talk through on this episode. But let's say you've got 20 different marketing channels. You're doing direct mail, text messaging, Facebook ads, Google ads, speaking engagements, marketing, and like a church bulletin, right? So using the 80-20 rule, 20% of what you do produces 80% of the results, right? So that will mean that 4 of those produce 80% of the results. Now, continuing on, if we were to use the 64-4 rule, it would be a little more narrow. About one marketing channel, or 0.8, if I did this correctly, would produce 64% of the results. So the point of this concept is to get more focused and double down on your best few inputs. I actually saw this post from a guy I follow named Alex Hormozy on Instagram, and this made a lot of sense. It said, having 7 income streams doesn't make you wealthy, it makes you distracted. I'd rather have one big income stream than 7 shitty ones. And then he also says that Carnegie has a quote that says, put all your eggs in one basket, then watch that basket. And he definitely agrees with Carnegie in that case. So the point of this all is just to say that less is more, focus on less but better. That's a concept in this book called Essentialism. And that's what I'm doing as well. A couple of years ago, I wanted to close more and more deals, right? I see a lot of people in real estate, for example, whether they're doing wholesaling or they're real estate agent, whatever it is, the logic that people think is, okay, I closed 5 deals this year. Next year, I want to close 10. Following year, I want to close 20. And it just keeps going up and up and up. But sometimes they're spreading themselves so thin because in an effort to get more and more deals done, they're cutting commissions more, they're taking lower price points, they're making less money, doing less profitable deals, right? So just apply this to whatever business that you're in. It may be a little bit different depending on the industry, depending on your role. But personally, I am okay doing fewer real estate transactions, but I want a higher price point and I want bigger margins. This way, I'm able to help my clients even more. Like I'll have fewer clients. I won't have 100 clients a year. I'm cool with having 10 or 20 high price point clients that are, easy to work with. They get things to me on time. They're not ghosting me. They get everything I need. And I'm not trying to generalize or stereotype or anything, but just to be fair, a lot of times newer home buyers are freaking out. They have like cold feet last minute. They don't want to send something, or somebody doesn't want to sign at the closing table. And knock on wood, that's never happened to me, but I do hear the horror stories. And I know that you can pull away by getting into those luxury clients, those types of clients that respect you, they respect your time, they respect your craft. They don't ask for discounts on your commission, for example. So for me, I know that I can do fewer transactions at a higher price point, and I'll actually make more money than if I take on a bunch of clients and drive myself into the ground and go absolutely nuts, burning the candlestick at both ends, cutting my commissions, having clients that ghost me and don't appreciate me and don't value what I do and the knowledge that I bring to the table. And so that's just a little bit of the compare and contrast I wanted to share for you. And so again, follow the 64-4 principle. It's like the 80-20, but the 80-20 of the 80-20. It's a little more refined. So if there's like 3 things that you're focusing on, maybe narrow it down to 1 or 2, right? Get even more clear. What is that one thing? And I've talked about these books before, but The One Thing by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan, that's another great one. And I forget the exact quote, but the idea is, what is the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else becomes irrelevant or unimportant, something like that. And we all have a one thing in our business, right? That's like our 64-4 thing that we got to focus on. The 4% that produces the 64% of the results, or the 20% that produces 80% of the results. We can't be spending time and effort and energy in all these little areas, like the short, the long tail. If you look at like the distribution curve, the focus should be there where all the efforts and the momentum are. Don't focus on the long tail, like those little things at the very end. Maybe you get a lead out of it every once in a while. Maybe you get a client out of that, but is it sustainable? Does it burn you out? Are you having to do a whole bunch of stuff to get that one deal versus focusing on where your core strengths and efforts are? Like focus on that, do a deep dive. And I challenge you to really focus and utilize this principle. So that's it for this one. I'm going to wrap it. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you got any questions, comments, concerns, get at me in the comments on YouTube or shoot me a DM on Instagram. And also exciting quick call to action. I do have that scorecard. I've talked about it a few times on how I track all of the stuff that I do every single day. I do have an updated copy that's a little more cleaned up. And I created a video training about 22 minutes on how to set it up, how to use it. You just set it up once up front and then you're good to go. So if you want to go to chrisbello.com/free, that will redirect you to that site where you can get that freebie. And if you have any questions or anything, feel free to reply to the email whenever you get the video training and the actual downloadable template. So with that being said, I'll talk to you all in the next episode. Thanks for your time and have a great day. Bye.